Chapters 11 and 12. Summary and Analysis. Summary. While dwelling on Hindley's deterioration, Nellie comes across a stone on the highway which had been a favourite spot of theirs as children. There she sees a vision which convinces her of Hindley's impending death. Rushing to the heights, she encounters Hareton. She is horrified to discover what has become of the little boy she once nursed. Heathcliff has taken him under his wing. He no longer studies with the curate, but has learned how to curse and hit. Nellie asks him to send for Hindley so she can speak with him. However, when Heathcliff appears instead, she turns and runs. When Heathcliff next visits at the Grange, Nellie observes him trying to kiss Isabella and reports this to Catherine, who quarrels with Heathcliff. Accused by him of jealousy, Catherine retorts that if Heathcliff sincerely likes Isabella, she will do everything she can to help him. Heathcliff assures her that if he wants to marry Isabella, he needs neither her help nor Edgar's consent. Nellie hastens to inform Edgar of Catherine and Heathcliff's quarrel. Incensed at Heathcliff's presumptions, Edgar confronts him and orders him to leave. Clearly frightened of Heathcliff, Edgar endures Catherine's taunts about his cowardice until he finally strikes Heathcliff on the throat, stunning him. Heathcliff is maddened by Edgar's burst of courage and threatens to kill him. However, Edgar has gone for assistance and Heathcliff escapes. Undone at the thought of losing Heathcliff, Catherine assures Nellie that she will harm herself as punishment to Edgar if he tries to prevent her from seeing Heathcliff. When Edgar demands that Catherine choose between Heathcliff and himself, Catherine demands to be left alone and stages what Nellie terms, quote, a senseless, wicked rage, unquote. Edgar is frightened to see her gnash her teeth, draw blood, and then faint. Nellie tells him not to worry and exposes Catherine's earlier threat. Hearing this, Catherine locks herself in her room, refusing to eat. Giving up on Catherine momentarily, Edgar cross-examines Isabella to determine how far Heathcliff's advances have gone. Angered by her evasiveness, Edgar warns her that he will never speak to her again if she encourages Heathcliff's attentions. After 3 days of fasting, Catherine emerges from her room, claiming she will soon die. Nellie ignores her, believing this to be pure manipulation. Angered that Edgar is able to work while she is in anguish, Catherine's emotions escalate from, quote, feverish bewilderness to madness, unquote. One moment she is violent, the next she babbles. Thinking she is being haunted by a vision of an old hag, she is startled to realize that it is her own reflection in the mirror which startles her so. Exhausted and subdued, she hallucinates about being a child at the heights, reliving Hindley's enforced separation between her and Heathcliff. Convinced at last that she has gone mad, Nellie tries to restrain her in bed. At this point, Edgar comes in, and seeing that Catherine is genuinely delirious, threatens to fire Nellie for not having told him about his wife's condition. Hurrying out in pursuit of Mr. Kenneth, Nellie is aghast to see Isabella's pet dog hung by the neck from a tree, close to death. Kenneth arrives, and Nellie fills him in on Catherine's condition, blaming it on, quote, the Earnshaw's violent disposition, unquote. In turn, Kenneth advises her that Isabella was seen running off with Heathcliff the night before. Tying this in with the mystery of the nearly strangled dog, Nellie rushes to Isabella's room. Her suspicions are confirmed. The room is empty. Edgar bears the news of Isabella's elopement stoically, saying that he has not disowned her, but she has disowned him. Instead, he devotes himself to Catherine, who, Kenneth hopes, will recover if she can be kept calm. Discussion and analysis. Catherine's mad rage, reminiscent of Hamlet's, leaves the reader wondering whether or not she has truly gone insane, or is acting so for purely manipulative reasons. In any case, it underscores her mystical, almost holy conviction that she and Heathcliff are fatefully united. It is arguably the most dramatic scene in the novel, removing Catherine's connection to Heathcliff from any pretext of conventional friendship, and focusing instead on the passionate, primitive longing she has for him. Meanwhile, Heathcliff's senseless brutality towards Isabella's dog anticipates the treatment she can expect from him once their elopement is complete. The very idea that he is willing to marry a girl who he hates in order to gain the Linton estate, his eagerness to advance his schemes for revenge on Hindley, Edgar, and perhaps even Catherine, demonstrates the level of his bitterness. Chapters 13 and 14, Summary and Analysis. Summary. Under Edgar's devoted care, Catherine slowly recovers her health, but remains weak and depressed. To Edgar's delight, Catherine is pregnant, and he is certain the baby will be a boy, thus eliminating Heathcliff's claim to the Linton fortune. 6 weeks after Isabella's departure, she sends Edgar a letter which he ignores. The remainder of chapter 13 is narrated by Isabella in the form of a subsequent letter to Nelly. Isabella and Heathcliff have moved into the Heights. In her letter, Isabella expresses her horror at each of the inhabitants of Wuthering Heights, especially Heathcliff. She begs Nelly to let her know if Heathcliff, quote, is a man. If so, is he mad? And if not, is he a devil? Unquote. Describing her arrival, Isabella complains that Heathcliff had deserted her in the kitchen, where Hareton curses her for trying to kiss him, and Joseph disgusts her by using his hand to stir their dinner. Hindley is a shadow of his former self, and warns her to lock her door, lest he accidentally shoot her for Heathcliff. There is no maid to wait on her, and even worse, no bedroom for her to occupy. When Joseph finally comprehends that she wishes to be shown to Heathcliff's room, she discovers that it is locked, forcing her to spend the night on a chair in Hareton's room. Wretched, Isabella begs Nelly to secretly visit her, but Nelly goes at once to inform Edgar of his sister's condition. Edgar allows Nelly to visit her and extend his regrets, but refuses to write to Isabella himself. Visiting Isabella, Nelly notices that she has sunken to the level of slovenliness customary at the Heights. Heathcliff ridicules her to Nelly, calling her a disgrace even to the Lintons. He justifies himself by saying that he never misled Isabella into thinking he cared about her. In fact, no demonstration of his coarseness, even his attempt to strangle her dog, deterred her from running off with him. In fact, he claims to wonder why she fails to act on her threat to leave. Faced with Isabella's despair, Nelly asks her why she stays with a monster such as her husband. Isabella explains that in reality she is kept prisoner in order to completely break her spirit. Bored with tormenting Isabella, Heathcliff asks Nelly for news of Catherine. He entreats Nelly to help him visit her, promising he will hide from Edgar. He knows how deeply Catherine loves him, and how little regard she has for Edgar. Isabella speaks up in defence of Edgar, but Heathcliff mocks her by pointing out Edgar's loss of regard for his wayward sister, and orders her out of the room. Alone with Nelly, Heathcliff convinces her to take a letter to Catherine by insisting that Catherine must be in hell with no word from him for so long. He is certain that Catherine is not flourishing, but suffering under Edgar's insipid attentions. Nelly struggles with her conscience all the way home. She knows she did wrong by accepting Heathcliff's letter, but she believes that Catherine's mental state will improve once she hears from Heathcliff. Nelly stops her narration when Kenneth arrives to visit Lockwood. Lockwood mulls over what he has heard and wonders what would happen if he fell in love with Cathy, only to discover she was, quote, a second edition of the mother, unquote. Discussion and analysis. Isabella's emotional and physical decline parallels Catherine's. Neither of them can endure an environment which is foreign to her. Catherine's attempt to become a conventional, decorous gentlewoman means she must squelch her passionate nature. She wastes away even as she prepares to give birth to the next generation of Lintons. Soon after she removes herself from the civilized society of the Grange, Isabella's standards of gentility give way to Heathcliff's hypnotic influence. It is clear that part of Heathcliff's revenge is to hold complete control over both Hareton and Isabella. By controlling their lives, he can cause their degradation and suffering in the same manner he endured from Hindley and Isabella's family. Meanwhile, Heathcliff continues to exhibit a dual personality. He is still passionate and loving to Catherine, but cold and manipulative of everyone else. The other characters elicit no sympathy from him. They are merely his pawns. Even Nelly, from whom he has known friendship, is treated as a conduit, a means of getting messages to and from Catherine. Taunts about his cowardice until he finally strikes Heathcliff on the throat, stunning him. Heathcliff is maddened by Edgar's burst of courage and threatens to kill him. However, Edgar has gone for assistance, and Heathcliff escapes. Undone at the thought of losing, he turns and runs. When Heathcliff next visits at the Grange, Nelly observes him trying to kiss Isabella and reports this to Catherine, who quarrels with Heathcliff. Accused by him of jealousy, Catherine retorts that if Heathcliff sincerely likes Isabella, she will do everything she can to help him. Heathcliff at the Heights, she encounters Hareton. She is horrified to discover what has become of the little boy she once nursed. Heathcliff has taken him under his wing. He no longer studies with the curate, but has learned how to curse and hit. Nelly asks him to send for Hindley so she can speak with him. However, when Heathcliff appears instead, she... Chapters 11 and 12, Summary and Analysis. Summary. While dwelling on Hindley's deterioration, Nelly comes across a stone on the highway which had been a favourite spot of theirs as children. There she sees a vision which convinces her of Hindley's impending death. Rushing to assures her that if he wants to marry Isabella, he needs neither her help nor Edgar's consent. Nelly hastens to inform Edgar of Catherine and Heathcliff's quarrel. Incensed at Heathcliff's presumptions, Edgar confronts him and orders him to leave. Clearly frightened of Heathcliff, Edgar endures Catherine's